Nicholas, orange shirt.
Yes.
Nicholas was on me about not having on an orange shirt earlier. So unlike the last talk, I'm going to try something that's actually sort of new for me, but completely radically different, which is no slides. Okay, we'll see how that works. Because some of the very best talks are given without the audio-visual accoutrements that detract from the message. So I'm going to talk about how networks understand networks also, but in a completely different context. So the area that I'm interested in and concerned about are all the global challenges that we face. We face global warming, sustainability, war, many things like that. And many of these problems are because a lot of the systems we've developed in society were established during the 1890s. So some of the things we developed first to try and sort of build a more modern society were water systems. You know, so what are water systems? You pour the water in the middle and it dribbles out somewhere. You're not quite sure where, but as long as enough gets to most places, you're okay. And that's the way our electricity system works too. Electric companies don't actually know where those electrons go. If you have an outage, you have to call them on the cell phone to be able to tell them, hey, your power is out. It's crazy. Also, if you look at cell networks, things like that, they're really remarkably inflexible. They're not reactive things like biological systems. They're these static things. And a lot of the problems that we have today are due to the inflexibility of our thinking and our infrastructure. These things also show up in companies. And many of you are concerned with the fact that telcos have bleak prospects for profits in the future because of sort of the regulatory and sort of the frustrated systems we have. Medical systems are incredibly frustrated. They're inefficient. They're locked down. People have no way to really reinvent them. Finance, well, we've seen what's happening with finance, but actually the worst is yet to come. And on and on. These huge areas of our economy are teetering and cracking because we have these static, old-fashioned ways of thinking about the networks in our society. But there actually is, or appears to be by many, many people's account, a real solution that doesn't require silver bullets or magic. So for several years now, I've been leading conversations with the Governor's Council at the World Economic Forum, which is the CEOs of most of the large companies in the world around these sorts of problems. And of course, I work with scientists all around the world to think about these things too. And the general idea is that, boy, if you could get information about what people want, where people are going, what they do when they get there, you could turn these old systems into reactive systems, more like biological nervous systems, that would be order of magnitude more efficient. Really an order of magnitude more efficient, not a little bit. And we've been able to demonstrate this experimentally with real data in transportation. We've shown things like this in health, not health care, but health, diagnosing when people ought to go into the system, and several other, and in finance also. So what are we doing? Well, we're taking the digital exhaust that we all leave behind, the breadcrumbs from our cell phones, our card swipes, the easy pass on our car and so forth, and trying to use those to figure out the demand and reaction characteristics of the citizenry, customers, whatever you want to call the people. And it turns out you can really do this, and you can transform these systems. But don't be confused. It's not Twitter and it's not Facebook. It's not the online world. These are data from heavily regulated industries. They're data about where you're actually spending your money, where you're actually spending your time. And a thing to remember is you are what you do, not what you say you do. So when you get measurements about people really spend time, what they really buy, what they really, who they really interact with, in rich media particularly, like face-to-face, calling, spending time with, it turns out that that gives you far better prediction capabilities than using things like Twitter or Facebook. In experiments we've done, we see ×5 and ×10 lift, for those of you who understand about advertising, in prediction and conversion accuracies. Those are huge. Okay? So that's very exciting, and the discussion in the Governor's Council turned to how can we take advantage of this? There's an enormous opportunity here because these networks control, if we do this, these networks will control about 85% of the total world economy. If you add up medical, transportation, finance, and so forth, and now you say, well, what we're going to do to regulate in the sense of, control theory, not in the sense of, legal, what we're going to do to make these things adaptive is use information from cell towers, information from cards, information from various different things to make these huge systems more efficient, then what you're doing is you're managing the vast majority of the world's economy using information from these networks, and you better believe you're going to get a percent or two out of that. A percent or two of 85% of the world's economy is huge. And there is general agreement among people who I think know that this will dwarf the impact of the web. And in fact, for that reason, we've been able to attract people like Berners-Lee and the World Wide Web Consortium to work with us on this because they see this too. A data-driven web rather than a human-driven web. Something that's not just for people searching for data and transferring bits, but things that's part of a real control system is the next generation in their mind. There is, of course, a little problem. And the little problem is that all the data we need to make the medical system, the financial system, the transportation system work is siloed, it's owned by lots of different people, and the ownership is very unclear. There's lots of legal risks in using it. You have to get the regulators on board because most of this data is from heavily regulated industries. So what are you going to do? And that became the focus of the discussion with the global CEOs, their legal counsels, the head regulators, chairman of the Federal Trade Commission, EU commissioner, UK commissioner, India, etc., and NGOs about what could you do that would allow you to use this personal data, this incredibly personal data. This is not like Facebook. These are your medical records. These are your financial records. Those are the things we need to be able to make the world work a lot better. And what we found after many meetings was that there was actually extraordinary agreement about the general framework. And the general framework is what you have to do if you're a regulated industry is you have to give control of a copy of the data that you have about people's accounts, all the data you have about people, to control of the individuals. It's actually, in many cases, very simple. You create a little web account that's secure. You just put all the data you know about people there. You delete everything except what you need to operate on your own servers, which reduces your liability, and the regulator smiles on you. But what you can now do with the regulator's approval is you can make them unbundled opt-in offers. Can I touch this data to be able to do this service? Yes, no. Not those big long EULAs that are just impossible, right? Unbundled value for service. People are happy about that. And what it does is it creates a liquid market in this personal data. By giving ownership rights of people over their data, you get to concentrate financial data, location data, medical data, legal data in a way that would be impossible otherwise, quite literally impossible. And that way, you can make it liquid, you can monetize it, you can use it to run these societal systems. So, it's beginning to happen. You may say, gosh, I don't quite understand it. Happy to help you do it. I've worked with some of the leading transportation companies in transforming their systems. I've worked with some of the leading telcos in doing this. One of the world's largest media companies has made an extraordinarily large gift to help us do this. And I'm later this week running a half-day session with one of the world's biggest retailers to help them move into this area. So it's extraordinary. It's beginning in terms of the magnitude, in terms of harnessing these networks to be able to manage the social networks. And the key is giving individuals control over their information so that they can opt in, so that they can be part of running society in a way that's much more intimate than has been possible before. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so I think one of the things that we did very well, we were very much on time today, you know. We were very much on time, you know. I think it was a wonderful session. I would like to thank everyone that participated. And now we're going to have a break. After the break, you know, we're going to reconvene here for another short session. And that's, you know, that's going to be the last session of the morning. So thank you very much. And I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks.